This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Plan Committee meeting to order. It's Tuesday, March 31st, 2026 at 7 p.m. And we have a quorum.
We do.
We've got 5 members up here and 1 additional member online. Number 3, approval of the previous minutes. That would be from February 24, 2026 at 7 p.m. If somebody would like to give a motion.
Well, in the absence of BD, I will move to approve the Plan Committee minutes of Tuesday of February 24th.
Thank you, Andy. In a second.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. Any corrections or changes? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Brent, any changes in the agenda?
Since I know we have no one that will be present either physically or online to speak to items 9 and 10, I might suggest we move those 2 to the bottom of the agenda. Oh, we do. Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke with your contractor today and he couldn't be here, so
Okay,
forget that.
so we will not change the agenda. then.
No, and I think 9 will be a few seconds long only. So
Okay.
We can leave it as is, Ken.
Okay, that sounds good. And then number 5, visitors' comments. Any comments from the people in person or online? And when it certainly comes up to your topic, you'll be welcome to comment then.
We did have a hand raise.
Oh, we have a hand raise?
John Cox wishes.
John
to speak.
Cox, go ahead, John.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to reserve some time to speak to the moratorium discussion you were having a little later.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Surely. Okay, and that takes us to number 6, discussion and consideration of a recommendation to the village board for a development moratorium in the protected waterfront district. Let me pass something out that I developed for a discussion paper here. We passed one down to Brent too. You. Need one more. Over the last couple weeks, I have been thinking about the protected waterfront and changes we have made to the ordinance and how it's working. And what I'm going to do is, so I don't forget anything, I want to read through this fact sheet I developed, if you will. The Protected Waterfront District Ordinance 1720, excuse me, was modified in September 2024 to allow limited expansion possibilities for all properties in the Protected Waterfront District. And we have noon meetings where we work on our ordinance, and we probably worked on this for several months, quite a few months to come up with it. And the modifications were developed to allow everyone on the protected waterfront to build what we were calling a 1.5-story house. And then our discussions, the goal was specifically not to allow a full-story house because of concern of mass and scale, as well as compatible infill. I'm going to read the first 2 sentences of the Protected Waterfront District, the intent. Recognizing that the open shoreline is one of Ephraim's most distinctive features, the intent of this ordinance is to provide for as much open viewing space along our shoreline as possible. As an important contributing component of the Ephraim Historic District Ordinance 1720, that says 26, it should say 20, the Historic District Ordinance is 1726. Owners of residence in the protected waterfront are encouraged to use and maintain their existing residence. Since we made the modification to the ordinance, the proposed project concepts have included a full 2 stories with mass and scale beyond what was intended. All proposals to date have included a tear down of existing structures. Therefore, what I'm proposing for discussion tonight is consideration of a development moratorium for the protected waterfront to provide time to review and modify 1720 so the original intentions are clear and reflect the goals of the Plan Committee and the village board. If we were to proceed with this would be accomplished under a modification to 1720 for a development moratorium of 6 months. This will allow time to revise 1720 along with the proper review and approval processes for the plan committee and the village board. There would be an opportunity to extend the moratorium up to 6 additional months if needed. The process would require a Class 2 notice under Chapter 985. For this process, the Plan Committee would recommend consideration of a development moratorium in the protected waterfront to the Village Board. If supported by the Village Board at their meeting on April 14th, there would be 2 published notices, 1 week apart, and the second one 14 days before public hearing. A public hearing would then be held on May 12th, a separate meeting just before the regular Village Board meeting, and then the Village Board could act on it at its May 12th regular meeting. I'm recommending discussion at the Plan Committee meeting tonight, and then consideration of a motion to recommend, this would be a recommendation of a development moratorium for consideration by the Village Board. This would go to the Village Board, assuming we make this recommendation, for their April 14th meeting. And just as a matter of point, I have talked to our attorneys of how we could do this, and no proposed development has a vested right until they are compliant with the ordinances. And at the concept stage, there is no vested right involved. So I'll stop at that point to kind of frame this, and I'd like to go around the Plan Committee and get comments and reactions of what you think. This is one person's idea at this point. So I'd like to bounce this off of other people, but I'm just frustrated right now with the amount of development that we have, given what we're trying to accomplish with the ordinance. So I don't know who would like to start. I'll jump over to Grace to start.
Okay, I agree with Ken. I think this has been moving very quickly. The projects that are coming before us are large and tear downs, and I think it's changing our shoreline significantly. And I am in full favor of doing a 6-month moratorium.
Thank you, Grace.
Mhm.
Rick?
Well, the temptation is to think that this is, a very drastic measure. But one of the things that I think has alarmed this committee is the pressure that we find ourselves under in the village, but specifically along our waterfront, the protected waterfront district. Not being judgmental, not using pejoratives here, but what was once considered a sufficient living space by older generations doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And here in Ephraim, we have one resource. We don't have oil wells or gold mines. We have the appearance of the village. That's what we have. That's what we offer. That's what we are. And I've only been on this committee for less than a year, and it has struck me, how pushing the envelope these proposals are, that if they were to just go forward without any scrutiny and tough decisions, maybe, it would absolutely change the appearance of the village, which is what the protected waterfront, seems to me, protected waterfront zoning ordinance is all about. So I think on our watch, it is our charge here to protect the appearance of this village, in the historic district as well. So for those reasons, and based on the pressure that I perceive, and again, admittedly for 10 months, but it just seems that's the case, I would be in favor of a 6-month moratorium.
Thank you. Monique?
I agree with what Grace and what Rick has said. I think, you stated that very clearly, that we are in the position to protect the look and feel of the village and the historic nature of the village. And I've been on the plan committee now for almost 6 years, and it's been astounding to me that with the change that we made, that people could actually make modifications and changes, that it seems like after that, every single meeting, we're at least considering a design application. And I also feel like maybe the ordinances aren't clear enough because we keep getting these plans that are definitely not in keeping with what our intent is. So I would also be in favor of a moratorium.
Thank you. Let's see. I see Laird's online. Laird, would you like to go next?
I think I'm last.
No, we got Andy's like.
Oh,
gonna
Andy,
be
of
last.
course. Okay, sorry, Andy. I share the sentiments that you've expressed. I wonder, Ken, if I don't want to put you on the spot, but you have any rough guess about how many pending applications there are that would be affected by the moratorium?
We have right now, and we're going to hear them all tonight. The 3 tonight are the ones that are all at concept review stage. So these would definitely be impacted by that. Now, that's not to say if someone comes before us for a design approval, now not a concept review, but goes to the design approval and it meets our existing ordinance, we will hear it and approve it. So this will not affect anything that's ongoing until the board would take action at its May meeting. So for our tonight meeting and a meeting 4 weeks from tonight, we will still be operating under our existing ordinance. But there are 3 that are pending right now, and they're all on the agenda tonight.
Thanks.
Sure. Andy?
Well, there always comes a time at the end of a 3-day convention where everything's been said, but not everybody said it yet. So I'm simply going to agree with everybody. Granted, this is the first time as a committee we're sort of looking at this, Ken. But my first reaction was actually one of relief, feeling a lot of the same things that have already been expressed. That we're trying to adjust our original intent of, and that was good. We recognized what Rick said, that in today's world, a lot of these summer homes are insufficient for today's standards, and larger rooms, higher ceilings and whatnot. So the original intent was to open the door, but to do it very carefully. And one of the things I remember distinctly discussing was the sort of putting a limit on a 1.5 stories to keep that kind of Cape Cod dormer look for any kind of a 1/2 story, if you will. That really has become a problem because we've sort of followed that, but the applications we've seen have all been showing a full 2nd story. So that's one key presenting issue. We're also running into just need to clarify questions. Look at this issue of determining what the footprint is, or how do you really adjust for the mass and scale of a larger home in terms of the historic look and that. What's the phrase that are already in the ordinances? Compatible infill, the stuff that's coming in and adding to the mass that's there. Is it compatible with what we see? So we've got some new questions, and I think we all struggle with sort of having to figure this out on the fly. So that's another good reason just to take a time out. Like I said, I feel relief. I also think we need to distinguish, as another new question. We said that, yeah, we recognize that some of the existing properties probably could and even should be torn down and started over. On the other hand, some of them, and the original intent, as I recall going at this for the first time, the original intent of the ordinance, and you sort of reflect that here, is to do nothing, to leave the entire waterfront as it is. And we recognize that in today's world, that's probably not feasible. But I think that's still the overarching goal is to preserve as much as we can the way it is. So that's another question we need to sort of work at and clarify a bit. So yeah, like I said, relief, I think this would give us enough time to do this right. And I'll have one more thought. That's
ahead.
not just for the committee's sake. It's for the sake of applicants, because they come in and then they run into questions and a sort of a lack of clarity that would help them very much.
I agree with what's been said. I've been on the planning committee for 13 years, and there's certainly been more and more pressure on the protected waterfront, on the historic district. Mike McCutcheon, who was our previous village president, used to talk about what makes Ephraim, Ephraim. And reflecting on Rick said, I mean, we have a beautiful bay, but so does every community have a beautiful bay. What makes us different is our buildings. Frankly, that's the most obvious thing that makes us different. And we want to maintain that quality. We've been working at noon hours. I looked at our first minutes. I think it was 2015. So we've been working 10 years at trying to update ordinances, make them modern, yet help us maintain the village. And we took a crack to actually loosen things up on the protected waterfront. But now as I see the creativity of folks and developers, I'm not being critical. They've kind of opened their eyes that we probably opened it up a little too far. And I think rather than just trying to go do noon meetings and try to stay ahead of this, to take a time out and really go through it thoroughly, then everyone in the village, including their architects and engineers, can understand what we're doing. So I guess the committee's finished up and John has asked for time. John, would you like to make some comments on what we're considering here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thanks. So I'm not going to be specific about the projects along protected waterfront. I'm more fascinated by state statutes as they relate to villages, towns, and cities enacting moratoriums. And I kind of dug into that a little bit today. So section 66-1002 of the state statutes are pretty explicit as to why you can enact or shouldn't enact a moratorium. And what you're all suggesting tonight is not in that list by my reading. Now, I can't say that your opinions as to why you want it are wrong. I'm just saying that the state statutes are pretty clear on this. Moratoriums tend to be called because of a lack of village facilities, roads, sewer systems, things like that, and and that type of growth, not necessarily because we don't like the structures that are being built there now, or the design. So I would be very, very careful about this. And I would encourage the plan committee to read themselves this statute and see if you come to the same conclusions I am. I'm not sure if any of the members of the committee have this statute in front of them like I do right now. But I think it's potentially worth a look here. And I would probably be bringing it to the village board as well. I hope that, there's some look at this before it even gets there, because I think there may be something problematic here. So I'll leave it at that. And I appreciate it, your moment, giving me a time.
Yeah. John, just to respond to that, we did look at that statute and I spoke with our attorney and we do not think we meet that statute. This would be a simple change in our zoning ordinance by simply embedding this moratorium within 1720. I've spoken with our attorney. He thinks this is something we can do. So that's the avenue that we're looking at. But that will all be ironed out before the board meeting and presented at the board meeting. Our goal tonight is, if we decide to recommend consideration by the board. The board
just
then will have to work on the language.
I would ask that the committee be apprised of the language of this statute, that they should read it themselves.
Correct. We're not going to use that statute, John.
You're not going to use the statute?
Not the one you just quoted, no. We looked at that. I looked at that myself. I read the whole statute. I don't think we meet statute.
Not to try and be argumentative, but why wouldn't this apply?
Well, I'm trying to recollect the details of it, but some of the requirements of a registered professional engineer or health professional making certain determinations, and we didn't think we necessarily met that. So we didn't think we needed to use that statute.
Okay, I would, hopefully you get that in writing.
Right here.
Okay, Andy, would you like to respond?
I just thank you a lot for the caution. I think it's important. We certainly need to be in touch with the state statutes. So I'm looking at it right now online. 66.1002 is titled Development Moratorium. This has to do with a moratorium on rezoning or approving subdivision or any division of land. It does not have to do with this topic at all. Now, whether there's something else in the state statutes, I can't speak to, but I think you're quite correct. We don't need to worry about this because it doesn't apply.
Right. That's not the intention, is to use this one, John.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I was going to just go back to the agenda page. Let's see. I move that we approve recommendation to the village board for a development moratorium in the protected waterfront district.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Question, Andy.
Yeah, now that I see you titled this a development moratorium, I'm going to ask why you did,
That
because
was the attorney's wording, a development moratorium.
because that's the wording in a state statute. And I don't think that's the right term. I think this is just a moratorium on our own internal application of the current existing ordinances.
I think a moratorium on permitting.
Yeah.
So it'd be
Now, I don't know what the attorney had in mind when he used this term.
I
but-
think that if we use the word permit or building permit or permitting, I think that that's more accurate, because that's, I think, what we're actually doing. We're not stopping
Permitting
development.
moratorium.
Yes, a building permit moratorium.
What's your opinion on that, Brent?
Again, these wheels were set in motion while I was on vacation too, so I didn't talk to the attorney. I think the heavy lifting here is going to be done by the village board. As you said, for them to set something for public hearing, that language needs to be ironclad. So whether, if he's saying the use of development moratorium, whether that was specific to the statute, John brought up that Andy read, or whether it was just general, development in the protected waterfront, meaning building permits, I don't know, not being privy to that, but I think the intent is clear, what the plan committee's intent in providing this recommendation of the board for consideration. But if there's more than one vehicle, I guess, then all would have to be presented to the board. For the plan committee, they're not the legal expert, nor would they be asked to be the legal expert on what the appropriate means to get us to that end goal would be. that's something for the board to consider. So to me, it's more intent. It's not like you're providing language, specific language to be considered for adoption. It's just the process of how do we get to this end
Yeah.
goal we're trying to reach.
So
I don't know if I answered that question.
would
or-
it be better than to have a moratorium on permits?
Again, I think that's getting the message across what the concern of the plan committee is.
Right.
If the specific language is still development, again, that's the legalese of the way it needs to be worded. But as far as what the intent of plan committee, I don't know that it affects it too much.
Well, when I worked with the attorney and we spoke about the first ordinance or the first state statute that we're mentioning, and then we went a different route to go through the actual 1720, he still was using the development. So I don't think it necessarily is trying to refer back to that ordinance or anywhere else the word development is said.
Is it that moratorium is problematic? Is the word moratorium problematic?
Development.
It's a development.
Okay,
In my opinion, anyway, as I'm looking at this.
And we could change it to be building. We could change it to be
I like
permitting.
permitting. That's really what we're
That's the-
calling all time out on.
Right.
Would you,
should I withdraw?
well, if Grace could withdraw her second,
All right, I withdraw my second.
and you could withdraw the original motion.
I withdraw the original motion and would restate that I move that the, let's see, that the plan committee asks the village board to, let's see, that the plan committee is recommending to the village board a permit moratorium in the protected waterfront district.
Thank you.
Does that sound bad?
Mhm. And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Any other discussion?
Not to be a fly in the ointment, but I think we should just amend the motion to say for 6 months, that we're going to recommend that the moratorium be for 6 months.
Can I just amend without,
You can amend.
okay,
Just a friendly amendment.
okay. Thank you.
And Grace, do you second the amendment?
I second the amendment.
Okay.
John?
I see your hand up, yes.
Your mic's off again too, Ken.
Does that mean
John?
all, I'm sorry, does that mean all permits or permits for new structures or major permits, minor permits, fence permits? What does that mean exactly?
It means all permits. We're going to take a timeout on the protected waterfront.
On every type of permit? Absolutely every. 'Cause
That's a
really not fair.
That's a
not-
recommendation for the village board to consider.
But the plan committee did not speak to different types of permits. There are many different types of permits that are available in protected waterfront that have nothing to do with your original discussion about sizes of boundaries.
Correct. This is going to be a recommendation of the village board, and then they can refine it.
Well, I think maybe the
think
committee
we
might
could.
want to refine it if they start thinking about it a bit.
What other permits are we talking? Yes, there are fence permits.
Yeah, I mean, could be
Building.
fence,
Landscaping,
land disturbance,
Yeah.
signs. Well, not really signs, but
Yeah, we don't really have any.
there's a handful.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess speaking logically, the thing that could come up with the DOT's work with the snowstorm is there probably are a lot of fences and, incidental accessory type things that got damaged that'll need replacement here.
Right.
Again, if it's in kind, I don't necessarily see it being something that needs to go to plan committee or HPC if it's replacement in kind. But if in the course of fixing it, they want to change it to a new style of fence or sign or gate or whatever it might be, then it could. But fence is probably the most likely.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Jessica. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Jessica Pearson. I had two questions. I thought at the beginning of the dialogue, you indicated that if you were not asking for a special exception, that it would not create a problem. But now I think you're saying there's nothing. So if somebody came in and they had a 1.5 story house and they followed every single detail, it's sounding like that if there was no exception, you are still not allowing that. And I think that is not what was conveyed at the beginning of the dialogue.
No.
And second, I'm on the Board of Appeals, and I feel like we have a property issue between two houses that we have tried to resolve. It hasn't been resolved. And then are you saying they would not also be a part of any resolution for that circumstance? Because then we're asking them to complete it, but then saying that you can't for 6 more months. So I just want to bring up the details and the nuances of how far reaching it is that you're seeking this to be. Thank you.
That's a good point about the pending resolution of those 2 properties, because we would want that to move forward and not have that held up. I'm still thinking that we make this recommendation to the village board as it sits right now, and then we can sort out at the village board level what permits we're talking about and what we're not talking about. In this case, any of the buildings are conditional uses in the protected waterfront?
I mean, to the scale of additions, tear down and rebuilds, yes.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, to that point, if someone wants to, needs to change out the windows and they're going from picture windows to double hungs or double hungs to awnings, those are things that typically would come to HPC and plan for design review.
Right. So I would say that we will work that out between now and the village board meeting, considering some of John's comments. And I think we can and decide the best way. We're not trying to stop any work that would be done in protected waterfront, such as fencing and window replacements and things like that.
But the pressure that we feel as a committee extends beyond just building permits. We've had great discussions about landscaping and other things. So I do think that this needs to be fleshed out at the village board. And that's where I think that the details will be ironed out.
Okay.
But at this point, it is just a recommendation. It's nothing more than that. The board doesn't have to adopt anything we say.
Right.
And so I think at this stage, having more of a general statement about permitting, I think we've done makes sense. Doesn't mean that it's the law of the land that it carries the day, but at least it gets the conversation started in the right way at the decision-making body level.
Any additional comments?
It's good. It's good.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries, recommendation carries. Thank you. Okay, number 7, John Victoria Cultural, 9887 Water Street, due single-family resident concept review. Brent, bring us up to speed.
Yeah, this has been before the planning committee and HPC twice. The brief refresher, the first time they came with the initial concept review, both from HPC and plan, there was a lot of concern about the overall, I guess, bulk of the project, full 2-story over the garage, kind of a busy roof system. They took that back to the drawing board, came back with the concept drawings you saw last month. The plans before you today are the exact same as they were last month. They chose not to alter anything from what was considered before in the concept stage. And the last is, as you recall, and the applicants or the contractor for the applicant's intent was likely not to change anything until they got an answer from the plan committee relative to could they repurpose footprint of the garage that is its only attachment to the principal residence is by a covered breezeway. There's no footing related attachment. So it is attached by a breezeway, but does that constitute relative to our ordinances and definitions a full attachment that could be utilized in footprint modification under our current PW ordinance? So with that, that's kind of where it stands. The existing concept, which again is the same as it was last month, did go before HPC for an additional look today. We don't have BD with us to offer that recommendation. I know most of you were here for that. So Ken, I don't know if you want to cover their comments or if you'd like me to.
They continued to be concerned about the bulk, about the size. They mentioned compatible infill. It was pretty much the same comments as we've had before.
I would agree.
You know, as I read the minutes, we owe it to them because we had a discussion and we all agreed to go back, the plan committee members, and reread under 1720, which is protected waterfront, section 5, which relates to additions, modifications to or replacement of existing residences in the protected waterfront design review. And then there's a section that's very short. And if you could scroll down or scroll whichever way to show the layout of the existing house and garage and the proposed house, there it is. And can you move over all the people that are online so it doesn't cover up that right? Is there a way? There you go.
I think I should be able to get them back.
Okay.
Hey.
Okay. So under that section 2 I was referring to, it's real simple. And here's what it says. Footprints in the protected waterfront district can be modified, but increases to the total footprint of individual structures within the district are prohibited. Now, what the designer was suggesting is we have a residence, and then next to the residence on the left is a garage. And they've come at us with a couple different proposals. One was, I'll just say huge, combining those two together and building a very, very large house. So we said no. And then they came back to us and they used part of the garage as the house, and then embedded in the house is a little storage area. They call it the garage. And we said no. But we did say we would look at this, and this is what I want to decide tonight. How do we interpret that where it says increases to the total footprint of individual structures within the district are prohibited? Who'd like to start on their interpretation of that? No volunteers?
Well, I'll start.
Okay, go ahead, Andy.
Two things. One, I believe that the wording can be clearly understood, but we can certainly say it better. This would be one of the clarifications we need to make, just so it says it better. But secondly, I believe that at least the way I read the sentence is consistent with the original overarching agenda for anything in the protected waterfront, and that is to retain the original look and structures. So as I read the sentence, I think the key words here are individual structures. When it says footprints in the PW district can be modified, but increases to the total footprint of individual structures within the district are prohibited. It doesn't say that increases to the total footprint of the sum total of the structures. It says individual. And the fact that the word increases is plural implies that it's talking about each structure of which there might be more than one. So my read of this is that they have a garage structure and they have a residence structure, and they can reconfigure those within the original footprint or setbacks and whatnot. They can retain the square footage, but essentially they can build a new residence and they can build a new garage, or they can build a new structure, whatever it is, or build a new garage structure where the garage is. I don't think they're limited to saying that has to be a garage. It's a structure. But it's an individual structure. So there's two structures here. That's my read. And it's pretty much, again, one, on the basis of the grammar of the sentence, which could be stated more clearly, I'll concede. But two, consistent with the original intent of the ordinances.
Other comments? Rick?
I think Andy said it. I agree with his interpretation.
Grace or Monique? Comments?
I agree. I think they are two separate structures, the garage and the house. And the footprint of either one are not to be increased. And yeah, so I think stay with the same footprint.
Monique?
I'm kind of two minds because I see what you're saying. I see what the ordinance says. And yet if you look at an aerial and you're looking at the footprint, it would include the breezeway and the garage. So this is where I'm have an issue with the clarification of what it is that we're trying to approve or not approve. So that's my answer.
Okay. Laird?
I am persuaded by what Ken and Andy have said, that they're two individual structures and that neither one of their footprints can be expanded, but they can be modified. And I don't think that just saying they're individual structures necessarily ends the inquiry. The point is that one is not conditioned and hasn't been living space. The other one is conditioned and has been living space. And you could imagine a design change where the footprint stays the same, but they're put together. In other words, does the ordinance prohibit combining two individual structures into one? And I don't necessarily think that it does or doesn't. I don't think it was the intent to let people that have two structures figure out clever ways to combine them and increase the bulk of the waterfront house. But I'm just thinking that there is a separate inquiry. It's not just that they're individual structures. The point is, we don't want to have an unconditioned, formally garage-only space combined into another house so that it becomes a future house, even though that wouldn't necessarily change or increase the footprint of either one.
Okay, thanks. So what I hear us saying is that for the architect, for Cultra, they would have to work with the square footage of the residence that's labeled residence there. Now that could be modified in any way they want, but that's a maximum square footage they have to work with, and also not increase any of the non-conforming setbacks that are on the property right now. Then I'm going to ask another question. If you'd scroll up, I went down to the property and took a look around, and these are the types of things that we want to clarify with the ordinance, because admittedly it's a bit confusing. And I took 3 pictures here. There's a I'll call it an enclosed porch. What I would believe was originally built as a porch and has been enclosed. The top picture I took is actually looking at the inside of the porch, the room in there. And then if you scroll up, the bottom pictures are the foundation of this porch. And another thing we're gonna have to clarify is this porch part of the footprint. Because when you read the footprint, it talks about the area made up of exterior walls. And then it defines exterior walls, and it defines the difference between exterior wall and an interior wall. And you could make the case here that this is still a porch because the exterior, it's simply an enclosure of exterior walls that are decidedly different from interior walls. Or you could make the case that if it could be shown, this is a heated conditioned space. So it's another question we're going to have to address, and it's not real clear in our ordinance today. We've used terms like conditioned space and living space and so forth. In fairness to everyone, we need to much better define those so anyone can look at a house like this or any other house along the protected waterfront and decide what is the existing living space as opposed to a deck or a porch or a covered room. So I bring that up really as an example of something else that we have to deal with in taking another look at this ordinance.
Ken,
Any other
just-
questions or comments?
I just have a question. When you looked at this, and I'm kind of mixed up, so then I also see a screen porch on their plans.
Right.
Does that screen porch then take this, or is it completely different?
No, I say they, the designer has claimed this as part of the house, conditioned space, I'm gonna call it. So they're looking at, in their proposal to build an additional screen porch on top of this. Another thing we could deal with is in the protected waterfront, what do we allow beyond? Do you have the plans in there?
Yeah. Scroll up.
Yeah, there you go.
Scroll up.
For everyone sitting here or online, go back to the views of the actual house there. On the right side, there is a new screened-in porch, and this house is much larger than what we're talking about because they took advantage of part of the garage they converted into living space. So we ended up with a pretty good sized house. But another thing we have to tackle is if there was no porch there now, do we allow a porch in the future? Do we allow people to build porches? Because one of the things we've seen is a porch morphs into a knee wall, morphs into windows, morphs into a room. And in most of our village, it's not a big deal, but in the protected waterfront, since we're trying to preserve what we have there and the look there, it is, I think, something that we have to talk about. This is something else we'd be talking about if we got this moratorium and could study it. And in fairness, I noticed online there were either the owners or it could have been the developer, if they had any questions of us going through this. John, is your hand raised?
I think that was from before.
Okay. It's a previous raise? Okay. All right, then let's move on to number 8. Gregory Golterman, 9917 Water Street, a new single-family resident, a concept review. And Brent, do you want to introduce us?
Yeah, different project, but here for the same reasons. Goltermans are a little farther along planning wise. They have, as you see, the zoning permit application, conditional use application filled out, but pursuing this at this time as a concept review. Still, essentially adding that second story and a half, whatever it ends up being, over the bulk of the existing footprint that exists. The big difference with this one is it is 100% on the existing footprint of the home that would be raised and, a new home constructed in its place. Yeah, as far as what is from a maximum standpoint allowable by conditional use, up to 23 feet, chimney to 25 complies with that. Although it's close to the setbacks, it's no closer than what's present, what's grandfathered. Yeah, really nothing additional to add. Similar, went to HPC for a recommendation. They offered that. So Ken, if you'd like to speak to that when the time comes. And then I believe, did they stay on? Yeah, Goltermans are online. Should there be any questions of them, or if you guys wish to make your case.
Maybe I'll just first reflect what Historic Preservation Committee said. They did recognize that this one was much clearer as far as footprint because the contractor is suggesting the log cabin that's there, and if you have a picture of that, that will be removed down to the foundation. According to the contractor, the foundation had been rebuilt in 1980, so he would reuse the same foundation and go up higher, put on I'll call it a full second floor. The Goltermans were asked about considering going up with what they have. And maybe I'll ask Mr. Golterman to respond to that, because he mentioned he's talked to several contractors and the difficulty of building on top of that. I think he also suggested he would try to reuse logs and stones. So before putting any more words in the man's mouth, I would ask him if he'd like to make some comments as we get into this discussion, sir. Your mic, I think you're muted.
One of the things we tried to do is we looked at the various ordinances and had various suggestions during the summer from various people of, and I finally just said, we're staying on the same footing. That way, then we can eliminate a lot of those issues. We went to, and I think 4 contractors looked at this, and first 2 just said, one said, no, he couldn't do it. The next one said they could do it, and then they came back several months later and said, no, we'd have to build new. Third one said he could do it, but that's been 7 months and he hasn't gotten back to me. And so then Vans came in, I sat there and he said, it is, but he said, you're really going to have difficulty unless we tear it down and then rebuild it back the way it is. Build it new to be able to get the right supports and everything else. And building is not my forte, but that I'm just saying what the van said at the time. So that's how we got to the drawings that they produced at that time. And it was basically, a lot of it is just, I say, when it's down, cleaning up the foundation, putting in the, he said, going in, putting concrete in the flooring of the foundation, then bringing in, the utilities again, and then putting on the room above the area that 90 degrees out from the house that's, towards the highway there. So we did go directly on the foundation and went from that approach.
Okay, thank you. This is a concept review, so we're trying to give input. If you want to start, Monique?
Yes, I just had a question. Mr. Golterman, I was wondering, how old is the original part of the house? What year was the cabin part built?
No idea, but it's split log. My guess, not to say it, it was a long time ago then, and I'm just going by the structure, the crawl space and everything else. Then the front area went up, and I'm assuming it was a fishing hut. Then the front area towards the bay was put on, and that's at a different level than the back area. Then the other area that has the utilities in it, that was built at a different time also. So the 3 different pieces you see there were all built at different times. And I just know it was a long time ago.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wondered, I couldn't find anything online that stated the date of construction, so I wasn't sure. Thank you.
No, the piece in the middle, if you're down in the crawl space, you can see where there was a kitchen in that area, and that's why I assumed it was a fishing hut. Then the other piece that is on the bay side, that was put on sometime later. You can tell difference from the log cut.
Okay, who'd like to start with comments? Grace?
Sure. I do not have any issues with this property in that they are staying on the same footprint and just adding a second story within the parameters of our ordinances.
Okay, thank you. Andy?
Well, I do have a concern about the oversight, the overall bulk of a full second story. Essentially, he's taking the footprint, which is at most a story and a half with that large dormer in the larger bayside piece. Plus the 2 one-story pieces and making everything a full 2 stories. And that is, I think, not appropriate to the infill paragraph. And now I don't have a good suggestion. But I mean, I understand the desire to add space to this house, but there's only so much you can do within the overall objective of retaining the original look of the protected waterfront.
Okay. Monique, you started out by just asking a question, but did you have comments?
I mean, I see that they're staying within the footprint and I appreciate that. And I guess I still also have some concerns about the bulk. But I think they're within the ordinance as it sits right now. And so I also see what Andy's saying, because the 2 structures that are in front of the cabin itself are pretty diminutive. And so they will become larger and higher. And I mean, it's going to be very different than what sits there now. But I also understand, and we did open the door to this, so I get it. But it'll be very different. And I guess it is kind of sad that these are really old logs and chink and it'll be gone unless there's some way to figure out how to save those and reuse them. But
Actually,
those are my
that is
comments.
one of the comments is we're going to take them. They're going to go to the sawmill and then we're going to use, during the design, use the original logs as a facade.
Great.
On the exterior?
Yeah, I mean, it may not be all facade, but we're going to make it aesthetically pleasing that they're in there, that the logs are still in that it's not going to all be siding. We're going to have log facade in certain pieces for the architectural improvement of the property.
Thank you.
Laird, I'll jump over to you if you have comments or questions.
Well, as you know, I'm a relatively new member of this committee, and I am not familiar with the background that led to the 2024 modification. But if the intent was to let people go up to a story and a half, and we're looking at a design that goes to the full 2 stories throughout, it seems to me that this is kind of a paradigmatic example of why a moratorium might make sense. I love the existing structure, and I am gratified to hear that you're thinking about retaining as much as you can of the logs and the stones, and I think that's terrific. But I think this is going to be another example of people driving by and saying, "Whoa, we used to have kind of a lot smaller village, and now everything is sprung up to 2 stories." So I'm concerned about that.
Thank you. Rick?
I'm going to echo what everybody else has said. I too appreciate the attempt, to stay within the same footprint and to use, reuse materials. And I also think that this is another example why we need to discuss the ordinance, clear it up. I mean, I think that just by the renderings that I'm seeing, that this does go to a full 2 stories, and the intent at least of the existing protected waterfront ordinances is to limit that to a 1.5 story. So I don't think they are within the ordinance, whether it be the letter or the spirit of it. So I guess that's my concern.
Okay. I'm going to read, because we use the term compatible infill, and this is actually in the historic district. Our protected waterfront is embedded in our historic district. So what applies to the historic district also applies to protected waterfront. We call it compatible infill. Any improvement, particularly in the case of new construction, which is in keeping with the simple lines, mass, scale, building material setbacks, window treatment, color, and architectural style of the adjacent structures, and which enhances the overall character of the village rather than drawing attention to itself and detracting from the overall character. Whether or not infill is considered compatible shall be the responsibility of the HPC and the Plan Committee. I'm struggling with, although we said 23, that didn't automatically say everybody's got 23. When I consider compatible infill, and I look to the south of this proposal, and it's another almost twin log cabin to this one. I'm guessing they were built at a similar time, but they're very similar. And then to the north, only 1 story. Yeah, that one's only 1 story. It's a smaller. And then to the north is a little bigger, but it's 1.5 stories. So this structure would be much bigger than either of those structures. And that's what I'm struggling with, the infill and the amount of mass. I don't know what you can do about it. The other just kind of more detailed comment is on the north wall. If you show that drawing, there it is. That's 47 feet long of an unbroken surface, a plane. Your neighbors, I couldn't measure with the snow and everything, and I didn't know where the lot line was, but I judged that they have a storage building. It looks like you're probably 10 feet away or less from the property line. It's very small, and your neighbor is going to be looking at that 23 feet high partially. The rest of it might be 20 and 47 feet long. I'm really struggling with that. If that would be my definition of bulk. So, but I'm not here to try to suggest how to redesign it. We do have in our ordinance in the village that any wall over 50 feet long must have a break in it, some sort of architectural feature that breaks it, because no matter where you are in the village, we don't want to look at long, plain walls. So I would ask, as you consider the bulk and maybe trying to get this toward 1.5 stories rather than the full 2 stories, you take a look at that wall. Do we have any other comments? Mr. Golderman, do you have any questions of us?
No, I thank you for your comments.
Well, I appreciate you coming before us, and I appreciate you working with the existing footprint. That was a good start.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to number 9. Carol Corbett, 10081 Water Street, an addition concept review. And Brent, I'll let you kick this off.
Yeah, I'll echo what I said at HBC. So Carol reached out. She's got a couple projects in the works, this being one of them. And shortly before I went on vacation, she sent me a couple concept drawings that I know she was looking to pursue. Not actively like she's looking to build this, in a month or two, but wanting to get the ball rolling. So basically I sent her an email, said, we've got a meeting coming up. I can put you on the agenda as a concept review, but I think for the committee to even have a reasonable conversation in the concept stage, some type of site planning, some type of, elevation drawings or pictures of what's existing, what, the scope of this overall project is. And I believe she was traveling because I haven't heard back from her. So kind of echoing what I said at HPC, I honestly don't think there's a whole lot here we can offer from a input standpoint for her as she moves forward. HPC, not to steal your thunder, Ken, basically said the same thing. So honestly, if based on the two pictures you see, if there's anything there you want me to pass on, I'll be happy to do that. But I think this would be one that's a candidate for kicking down the road when we have more information from our applicant.
Andy, would you like to kick it?
Well, gladly. I guess I have one question, and that is she proposing an actual change to the structure of the building? If this is purely internal.
No, the dormer in its easiest form, I'll make an assumption. Again, I haven't been down there to verify.
Yeah.
If this wall is existing, I think it's just a dormer above existing walls. But again, that's not determined by plan. But
Yeah.
this dormer does not exist, so it's certainly more than an interior renovation.
What were you asking? I thought I agree. I think this is not ready for consideration,
Okay.
even for a concept review.
Okay.
I agree. I have no idea what she is really proposing.
Okay. So we'll invite her to come back in a month.
Yep.
With more detail.
Yep.
And I think, specifically in this case, we need some kind of plan.
Yep.
Obviously a plan and some kind of profile on also some
Yep.
kind of walls. Okay. Sounds good. Number 10, Martha Fonseca. Did I pronounce it? Good deal. Good for me for a change. 10319 North Shore. Demo of existing single-family residence and construction of a new single-family residence, attached garage to remain. Brent.
Yeah, and then please, hopefully I don't take any words out of your mouth, but since I've got the helm here, worked with our applicant and contractor year and a half ago, maybe, for construction of a new attached garage. All compliant. That project, again, was approved over the counter. And at least from what I heard from the contractor and kind of doing some of that demolition work to make that physical attachment to the house, the plan was for the house existing to remain. But when they got in there, basically just through, I don't know if it's rot, structurally, when they got in there, it was not in as good a shape as they hoped it would be. So that's when the conversation about demoing that building out and building something back in its place came to light and started getting traction. So I guess with that, there is a home that exists here now. From a dimensional standpoint, it's no larger. Everything fits dimensionally. The one thing I always point out relative to setbacks is it is very tight to that side yard setback, but in talking with the contractor, they are working with surveyors, so they have a very accurate line of where the south property boundary is. So with that, it kind of alleviates concern relative to not having a whole lot of wiggle room to play with from a setback standpoint. So with that, obviously our applicant is here. Design wise, they did not submit any material samples because the intent is to match the new materials that were finished on the existing new attached garage that was built a couple of years ago. So with that, if you have any questions, obviously our applicant is here, or any questions of me, I'll be happy to fill in.
Who would like to start with any questions?
I will yield because I went first the last couple of times, but I want to make one observation, and that is to make sure this is in the R1 zoning area. It bugs me when that isn't on the application. That's just a pet peeve, but
Yeah.
I assume that's R1 and want to confirm.
It is.
I'll yield.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to go
Well,
first.
I always go last. The chairman's
Well-
prerogative.
Does this meet all the setbacks, Brent?
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess then I am okay with the application.
I have no issues with the application.
Rick?
It meets all the dimensional rent requirements, including square footage.
It does. And, you know, kind of atypical from a waterfront property standpoint. You see on the site plan where the 75-foot ordinary high water mark, usually that's the one that's getting pushed. We're getting as tight, you know, to that as possible. But obviously with the attached garage, that's the logical place for it to go. But relative to those dimensions, yeah, there's plenty of room to work with.
No, if that's the case, then I have no issues with the proposal.
Laird, any comments?
Nope, no issues.
Okay. I have one comment. We actually do a design review, which we're doing right now, of every structure in the village, which might seem, I don't know how long you've been in Ephraim, but it might seem a little excessive, but we actually review the design of all structures, even in rural residential. And my only comment and question is, when you're not in the historic district, but when we do things in the historic district, we like simple and rectilinear. And I was a little bit wondering, the railings on the second floor just don't seem to go with the rest of the house. It's a detail, but I was, the railings on the second floor that are kind of a cross and design. I mean, I'm not here to
The red area.
to say yes or no on railings, but I'm just kind of curious with the design of the rest of the house.
Right, so the existing, so if you go back to the survey. So when, as Brent was saying, this was supposed to be a garage addition renovation. And so we had no intent on ever going closer to the water, trying to stay right with it. And so when we ran into that problem, we created some things that didn't exist in the current house. And one of those two renderings that you see are both exterior, they're like, just like a little step out porch and then a screened in porch as well.
Right.
Yeah, they are a little different.
I mean, your prerogative. I was just kind of curious about them, how they fit in with the rest of the design of the house.
So the house is, I mean, the exterior, as you see, is just, it's pretty, it's stone and
It's
wood and
beautiful.
metal. And yeah, so it's kind of simple. And so it's just a little splash.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Too many lights. We're going to take some of those lights off.
Okay.
Way too many lights.
Way too many lights.
Way too
Yeah,
many.
now that you mention it.
You have way too many lights.
Now, this is in for a design approval, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess if you're subtracting stuff, but you shouldn't be adding stuff. If you said too few lights, I'm going to splash more lights.
Oh,
around the
no,
house.
no, they're
Okay.
too many.
Okay. So you can take things away, but don't add anything.
No. In fact, I mean, this is a pretty much a done deal. We're just waiting for this to go through, and we've been working. Like I said, originally, that was the garage addition, and it's
Right.
yeah. So, and kind of like Kultura's house, it was that centerpiece was the original part. Got added onto 3 or 4 different times at different times in the stage of its creation. So it's it's a little bit tricky when we started seeing what was actually underneath everything. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Could I have a motion? If there's no more questions?
Oh, wait, oh. Let me go back to the top. I can do it. Hang on.
See, when BD's not here, we
I got
really
it.
miss him, don't we? He's our motion man.
motion. I move that we accept the demo of existing single-family residence and construction of new single-family residence at 10319 North Shore Road as presented.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. Thank you. Number 11, David Hatch, 10337 Town Line Road, a new commercial shop in for design review. And I'll let Brent first kick this off, Dave.
Yeah, it is a conditional use for the trade and contractor establishment as well. So I do have one piece of written correspondence when the time comes for that, Ken. David's been before us a number of times. I think from a concept review standpoint, a couple times for a duplex and also for a workshop in the past. He also was before us because he had this specific property rezoned a couple of years ago from rural residential to commercial north. In the current iteration, as the agenda states, David is looking to construct a 2,400 square foot place for his business. David is we can talk about all that, but woodworker, so is in the trades. As our definition states, there is a carve out for trade and contractor establishments by conditional use for basically construction of parts to be installed elsewhere. So, or for trades, plumbers, painters, things like that, but also for cabinetry makers, furniture makers, things like that, assemble things in one place to be installed elsewhere. With that, obviously, it is here for conditional use review for the use itself. Dimensionally, it is a commercial building, so that falls, we don't see a whole lot of that typically in our goings on. We're typically dealing with the residential side of construction. We've had, just a handful of new commercial business or buildings built in the last probably 10 years. But I guess when that number jumps out at you, we're not dealing with the typical 3,000 square foot footprint for a single family home. There, the maximum footprint for a commercial business is 3,000 or 10,000. So you can go significantly larger.
Mm-hmm.
With that, again, it's pretty straightforward, but Dave did provide a couple material samples here. It's a metal building, I think for color there. Dave, if you want to expand upon that. Dimensionally at 22 feet, meets, again, because this is a principal building, they fall under the same 28-foot maximum height. Dimensionally is fine. I guess the one thing being commercial, I encourage Dave, and he knows our inspectors well. He has reached out to them relative to what'll be required from a plan submittal standpoint. Being it's a commercial building, it may or may not need, state approved plans for that. So I think in our conversations, there'll be more kind of CAD type drawings of this building at some point that'll be created for our, file. But I think from David's standpoint, didn't pursue state approved plans until, had the nod from us. So, there's one other little side piece I'd like to speak just, to the story that got us here relative to David's operation that I'd like to speak to, Ken, but probably next if I could read the single letter we got in. Brent, while I'm not in opposition to this project, I do feel some clarifications are necessary. My property is at 10374 Highway 42 and is within the 300 feet of the parcel in question. The property listed on the application is 10337 Town Line Drive. That belongs to Carlin Hatch. From appearances, it would seem the conditional use request refers to an adjacent property north of 10337. I don't see where the actual location of the requested permit and new construction is referenced by fire number, parcel ID, or any other means. On the first page of the application, the property use is listed as residential. My understanding is that the parcel in question was recently rezoned to commercial north. No zoning district is noted on the application. Which is it? The type of improvement listed both as a shop and garage. Basic garage is also listed as an additional feature on the applicant design checklist. I only see a plan for one building. Documentation of safe and adequate water supply and disposal of sewage is listed as not applicable. How are those not required? While I am unable to attend the meeting, I would appreciate these questions being addressed. Regards, Jacob Drancy.
So this is the parcel that we rezoned commercial. from
Correct.
Residential.
Yeah, it is this parcel here,
Which one? Okay.
this area here.
Is that a driveway there, or is that just a lot line?
Right here, there is, it's a lot line, but it also is, there's a easement road there, if I'm correct in that, David. Yep, right along the property line there.
So where exactly is this building going?
You
Believe
gotta
it's going-
Scroll down.
It's, I
it
think the
shows
next,
it.
yeah, I finally found
Or
that.
maybe up. I thought it was further down, actually. It finally got to,
No,
there's some exhibits.
Yeah, there.
There it is.
Yeah.
Is that the rectangle, Dave?
I'm
Where the-
sorry?
Is that the rectangle where the building is going, where
Yes,
in yellow there?
correct.
wait a second. I'm trying to correlate that to the aerial photograph that's got the lots stacked along town line, while here they're back and front. Now I'm confused, but it could be just me.
You want to scroll back to that aerial photograph that Ann was
Mhm.
referring to?
Yeah, I think this. Yeah, that's a good point.
Huh.
Yeah, that.
See, is that
drawing
is that
shows
line,
the
is that
split
1
here.
and 2 north to south on town line? Those not lots that are numbered 1 and 2 on the other drawing? Where they're east to west on town line? I'm confused.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing with this.
And I
Are
still
these
don't know
lot
where the
lines?
building's going.
Or
Right.
these, what are the green things? Are those things that you added, Dave? What are the
Yeah,
green
help us
lines?
here. Yeah.
Those, that's the current survey, but if you scroll down to the new one, keep going. Yeah, there we go. That's the proposed new lot configuration.
So you own lot 1 and 2?
Mhm.
Are
Well,
they
yeah.
separate lots?
No,
So now I'm even more confused. So this is 1 lot or 2 lots?
currently it's one.
And do you want to divide them into 2?
Yes.
This is a new certified survey map,
Yeah.
putting it into 2 lots.
Okay,
It will be.
okay, and that's, okay.
Then how do you, oh,
So that's new information, but then the building is the yellow highlighted on what you have as lot 2. That's sort of, where are we, southeast corner?
Correct.
So on the aerial, then you would be looking to build
Thank you, Brent. That's what I was going to ask.
back in here.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there, then how are you going to get there? Is there
Yeah.
a new driveway going in, or
Mhm.
how will you access that building? I don't see a driveway.
There is one down right there.
On the certified survey map, it shows a 30-foot wide. Is that the access utility easement? Is that over that? On the certified survey map, it shows a 30-foot wide access easement with utilities. Is that where the road is?
It would be.
Okay.
Mhm. That the access to it is down that driveway that the cursor is showing right there.
That
Okay,
one with
so
the
you'd
red
come
dot.
off of this.
Okay.
so that's part of the property. These two exhibits are really confusing. We probably shouldn't even be looking at this one because I'm not sure what it means.
I think
The lot lines and so forth.
But all of that is your property, right?
Correct.
Have you already recorded this with the Door County Register of Deeds? Has this been platted and submitted to them? This is,
I haven't yet.
you haven't yet? This is
No.
just proposed at this point, this?
It's a
CSM?
proposed,
Okay.
new survey that Frisk has developed for me.
Okay.
And for the record, I'd have to sign off on that before it could be recorded. So things like, setbacks, proper easements, setbacks to a new building, all that would be confirmed before a new survey was recorded.
That's meaningless then. That piece of paper doesn't mean anything.
I think your proposal's based on this certified survey map,
Correct.
not the aerial photo. I mean, I think that we're throwing ourselves off even by looking at the aerial photo here.
Right.
We should just go to
Yeah.
the survey.
It's based on that when,
Without the division,
Right, just showing what, so I mean,
his overall piece of property.
based on that.
right.
Mm.
So it seems like one of the conditions is not just use, but also the adoption of this plat, this certified survey map, that would have to be recorded. Is that?
It would
that
have
our
to be
business?
recorded, but this,
That's my
relative to
intention.
the building, like it says, not to scale. Without a building project, I could approve a CSM like this, right now. But with a building project attached to it, I would need scaled information there. What is the distance from the property line to the
Right,
building?
right.
What is the distance?
Yeah, right.
And all those things. So
Brian,
that would have to come at some point.
Brian Frisk suggested that he could put in that exact
Yep.
dimension on that new lot configuration to scale, just for purposes of clarification. But
Yeah, because we don't know if this meets the setbacks. In other words, if this lot is subdivided into two lots.
well, there's,
No, but that's, like I said, it's great to have the vision of what he's thinking of doing, but relative to if there's an approval tonight, it would basically be an approval to build this building on the parent parcel.
Right.
As a whole, the full, 9+ acres.
the building can be positioned relative to the setbacks as needed.
Right. But normally.
But we need to know
showing
that.
Those dimensions
Yeah,
on
we
the
need
application
to see that.
Right.
to know where the building's gonna be. Because if we just leave it like that and you don't subdivide, nothing would keep you from moving the building all the way up, set off Town Line Road.
Yeah.
If we don't have,
Or further
No,
to the south.
I would agree. If it would move forward, that would be something I'd be looking for is, a contingent on, Brent reviewing a site plan and, potential CSM that was compliant with our zoning.
Right.
because we're looking for a design review, so we're looking
Correct.
for approval tonight.
Yeah.
Looks like there's another drawing that has other markers of setbacks. Maybe it's down further. Nope, up a
Right.
little bit more, I think.
Certainly, that's another
That one.
element to the application would be the Brian Frisk putting in the exact setbacks and the scale of the building. There's ample acreage to put it as needed.
Okay.
I was just going to ask, is there a reason that you just decided on that bottom corner of the lot to put that building, your workshop?
It's seems to be an obvious, because there's a driveway that goes down that from the east to the west. There's a driveway that's already there, and it's without having to put in another driveway. It just seemed like a kind of common sense location for it to be. The situation or the site location is compatible with the concept where the trees stop and the open area starts. It fits the lay of the land, so to speak.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
ask-
I have a
Oh.
question or comment I'd like to interject if I can have a moment, please.
Just, I'll get you, sir. Let
Thank
the
you.
board committee finish discussing and then I'll open it up to the audience.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
No, I'm still, on the aerial, I know we've agreed not to worry about the aerial, but it's the lot that's 10337 is a different lot and you don't own that.
My son owns that 337. I
Okay.
use that as a reference so you can,
I get that, but you're going to share, that driveway is on that lot, not your lot.
correct.
Okay. And you're going to build north of that with a long enough setback that you'll go into your lot, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, we would share that driveway.
Okay.
But are we setting ourselves up if somebody starts to
Yeah,
sell a house, his son sells the property, then?
Well, it would all have to be done with legal easement, just because they're
Okay,
related.
okay,
If
okay.
David owned both pieces, I could sign off on it,
Sure.
without a legal easement. But relation regardless, it still would have to be, legally done, so he has the legal right to.
Okay, I hate to use the word assume, but we can assume
Yeah.
that would be taken care of. Okay, for the access. Good.
Would we normally, given the fact that we're about to have a CSM recorded here, would we normally, when considering a proposal like this, get the setback dimensions before we would
Yes.
approve the project?
On leaving the CSM part aside, yes, the typical would be, certainly before approval, before, signing off on a permit, we would need an accurate site plan with all the applicable dimensions shown on it. Yes, in a normal situation, it would be here, within this packet. But we have had situations where, whether it's a set of elevation drawings, a site plan or something, contingent upon, satisfying me that everything is in order. But the short answer is yes, before a permit is approved, it needs to be within the record.
This is a case of almost too much information.
Ken,
I'm sorry?
The information is rather confusing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I meant it'd be easier just to have a single drawing and telling us what you're doing, but Andy.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move to postpone action pending a clear sketch, including setbacks and a to-scale drawing of this.
Okay.
I appreciate it. You want to get going, but we're wasting too much of our time trying to figure out exactly what you want to do. Make it clear to us and we're done.
Do I have a second to Andy's motion?
I will second.
Okay, discussion.
Now, I do know someone is in line to speak from, I don't know if that was Laird. No, it
No,
was.
it's not allowed.
So I don't know if that's worth,
Well, he's here. We should still, I think we should still hear him.
yes, that would come under discussion.
Before
then,
we-
Yes.
Part of the discussion is motion. Sir, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Greg Tetzloff. I am one of the owners at High Point Inn. Since 1999, I've been a part-time resident of Ephraim. Ephraim is a treasure. I love it. I appreciate all that you are all doing to keep it a treasure. I did receive the package about the proposal because our property is within 300 feet of the proposed facility, which I notice is a woodworking manufacturing facility. So my concern would be about noise, and I'm wondering if the approval could respect the fact that we don't want a lot of woodworking equipment noise to be impacting the surrounding residences and the High Point Inn. So that would be the concern that I would want to be sure is considered. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Let's continue on. Is there any other comments about the motion to postpone? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Can I make this that's that I wanted to reserve a little time for a quick comment.
Okay, sure.
And David and I, obviously he's had a project in the works here for quite some time. So, we've done a few on-site visits and conversations. And I guess through that, little bit of discovery was made, and David has been, making some efforts to correct some issues. But relative to the present operation, which would be moving to the new location if he's eventually granted a permit. But basically, David's operation now is operating out of this property. If you can see on the screen here, so just south of the Fine Line Design property, building right there is where David's workshop is presently. So in course of doing some of the due diligence and conversations with David, there were some discoveries made that there are a handful of, and probably brought on by the fact that he doesn't have enough space for his operation, basically what I'll call temporary structures that have been housing, construction materials and things like that. David has slowly been removing those to bring it back in compliance because they were not permitted structures. So I know in talking with David, been making slow progress towards dealing with that. But if this would have got to the point of an approval tonight and still will be heard in the future, and I talked to David before, so this didn't come as a shock today, but consideration, I would like the committee to kind of just draw that line in the sand as a contingent upon approval of this, that those other non-conforming buildings go away. I know that's
Good
David's
comment.
intent, so this shouldn't come as a shocking bit of information to him, but just to tie that out, that as a part of this, he's going to correct some non-conformity issues that presently exist on the neighboring property.
I'm going to take a vote on the postponement. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Oppose?
Okay.
We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 12, Colin Walford, 10367 Water Street, a fence/gate for design review. Let Brent kick this thing off. before
Good
you get
evening.
Going here.
The address is actually wrong. I just wanted to correct that. It's 10347.
103,467.
No, 10347.
Oh, I'm sorry. 103,447.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
When we move to fillable PDFs for applications, as discussed at noon today, then we won't have to rely on. I've got worse penmanship than anyway, so I'm not pointing the finger, but yes. So Colin obviously has been before us a few times. There's two aspects here. The one being the gate was addressed with the larger fencing project that was before committee a few times. I'm not sure if that was last year, what time of year that was. So that's one aspect that he owed us some drawings to get the completion of that going. The second is a small additional section of solid wood fence with the wooden fence panels, Menard type dog-eared panels that were used for a small portion of the fence that was previously approved. That fence is more in the middle of the property. No setback issues whatsoever. So in all honesty, if Colin didn't have the larger fence application process, site plan, series of reviews, I probably would have considered approving it over the counter. But given how much scrutiny we poured over and into that site plan, I just didn't want anyone to come back to Colin and say, hey, this fence wasn't in what was approved. So relative to full transparency from his standpoint, we decided to pursue it this way. So with that, Colin has an application before. I'll let him speak to that. Dimensionally, I don't really see any issues. I guess, I'll let that speak. If there are any questions, happy to speak to him.
Colin. Hi.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions? I suppose. I hope I've been clear in in the request. I made a mistake, which I clarified with Brent today. It's not cedar, it's not raw cedar, it's pressure treated pine. So it looks like that, it will weather with age. And it's exactly the same material as was approved and I've used around the new garage, which is close by. So it's very much part of what you approved and I've built since last year.
So I understand the fence and it's in blue with a gate on it that I assume will look like the rest of the fence, just a
Yes.
gate. Are you also here for the gate that we never dealt with?
Yes, that's right. It's the end of last year's application.
Right.
When I drew a picture of the gate post too high and kind of, we were tired, we said, let's do that next year.
Right.
So are we approving this as a package or one and then the other?
They're different, I think.
Yeah.
We can take them separately.
Yep.
I think we should.
I don't know if you saw me, I was driving by today
Oh.
and I was looking. And of course, I was on Bella Vista and between, I'll say building, well, this print small, 6
Yes.
and 4, there's a real attractive open fence. I'll call it with big openings.
Oh, the kind of white trellis?
Yeah, but
Yes.
big openings, but
Oh.
probably deer-proof openings.
Oh, sorry. Could you point on the map or
I
use the
think
cursor?
where I was looking was, because I was sitting over here, I'm
Oh.
wondering if it was this fence.
Yes, 6 and 4. That's been there for certainly upwards of 20 years. It's a white trellis made of
Right.
a mixture of wood and vinyl.
Right, okay, and I was kind of getting confused location-wise of this. I was trying to
Yes.
understand what you're doing. So you're trying to screen the deer out of this interior area now?
Yes, and also screen the view from the road, because when you pass by northwards and you pass the UU church, you can see into that back courtyard.
Okay.
And that's where I've got a lot of mess right now.
Yeah,
And I
okay,
will actually
okay.
be planting, I'll be having a nursery back there. So I want to protect it from the deer, but I also want to protect my junk and mess from eyesight. So it's a private back courtyard that nobody sees,
Okay.
really. So
Well,
it's
that's
a,
kind of you, but you
Yeah.
can just kind of
well,
clean it up.
Yeah.
yeah, finally. But it is necessary for the deer. That is the practical purpose, yeah.
So do we want to tackle the fence first? With the gate,
Okay,
but they'll look like the rest of the fence, correct?
it will.
Okay.
And I believe it conforms
Yep.
to all the ordinances.
Yep.
Questions of Colin about the fence?
Question for Brent.
Yep.
Our ordinance is 6-foot height on fences, correct?
Yeah,
Like
it's
village-wide?
6 foot when it's on or within, on the property line within the like setback area. There is a opportunity to go even higher than that if you're beyond like the front setback line. But 6 foot is the minimum acceptable for a solid fence. So,
Solid.
yeah, so 6 feet is compliant.
So with the 7-foot at the
But
gate.
that's different now.
That's
okay,
different.
all
Right, the
So
fence
it's
we're
6
looking
feet.
at will have a gate that's 6 feet high and look like the rest of the fence.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, if you look at that blue exhibit, or the one that he's highlighted in blue, turn back a little bit. A little more. There, if you can, that's actually a blue line and he shows, that's gonna be 6 feet high and the gate will be a 6-foot high gate.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions or comments on the 6-foot length of fence?
I was going to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Let's see, I move to accept Colin Welford's fence gate design at 103-647 Water Street.
There's a lot of numbers.
103.4.
10347 Water Street.
Yeah.
But specifically for the 6-foot high fence
And
connecting buildings such and such and such and such. Can we do that?
Sure. That might be a little harder for me. Okay, so, blah, blah, blah. 10347 Water Street, connecting, oh, Brent,
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
thank you, connecting Unit 7 and Unit 1
That's correct.
Yes.
with 6-foot high fence and gate made of pressure treated pine. Is that
Thank you.
anything else? Okay.
You got it. A second.
I second.
I second.
Okay. There you got the second in there. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Fence.
Thank you.
Is approved. Now.
So what you're seeing here is what I submitted last year, and we briefly discussed it at the end of our very, very long conversation. And the thing that you can notice was that the posts I'd drawn were out of scale or were clearly too high, and that was true because I hadn't set the scale of my drawing when I drew my posts. So you said, let's deal with it next year and come back with a scale drawing. And so if we can move to this, that is a scale drawing showing 6-foot fence posts. And the only thing that's non-conforming, or is a conditional request, I suppose, is that the gate goes in this little apex arch to 7 feet. It is to protect from deer, and I forgot to mention that in this application. Of course, that's the big purpose, but it's also consistent with the application last year when you did approve 400 feet of 7-foot fencing, which is very close by, and you accepted the deer deterrent. That was a reasonable deer deterrent. This seems to me in keeping with the materials which were approved to surround it, and also with the greenery, which will grow up to about 10 feet or more on either side. So it's in scale and will be in Western red cedar, so it's attractive, but it won't be ostentatious or particularly fancy. It's quite plain and simple. The conceit is it's a secret garden. There's a kind of plain Jane gate, and you have to go through it to discover the wonders beyond. So the request really is to allow for this little decorative feature, which also protects from deer. And that's really it. And apart from that, the dimensions are exactly the same as on last year's plans, which didn't seem to be much of an issue to anyone.
Can I just ask if, just sort of for the record, what is the reason for adding an extra foot on that gate?
First for deer, because we did, after much discussion, we did kind of acknowledge that 6 feet doesn't do the trick.
Okay.
So it's a deterrent, but also, yes, there's a design quality
Aesthetics.
to it,
Okay.
just a little bit. And also the scale of the trees, the gate's going to be a little bit dwarfed by these
Okay.
rather large trees eventually, I believe. So it would be a lovely thing at the beginning of this rather big garden, which is now become a 501c3. It's a nonprofit. And this summer I'll make a big splash as I give it to Door County, basically. So it's for the people, as it were.
As I recall, we did give the 7-foot for the deer around the whole perimeter. But here, if I was a deer, I'd just move over like 4 feet to my right and I'd make it over the 6-foot section.
There'll be
So-
trees
That's
there.
true, and that's why we eventually arrived at 6 foot, because the trees themselves are going to be the deterrent. And if you may recall that what I applied for was a 6-foot wire fence sandwiched between 2 rows of trees.
Right.
To hide the fence, but the trees themselves actually do provide the barrier. So this is the one exposed section. Just this 7-foot gate is exposed to the deer.
Oh, I see. So you're going to have trees on the inside on either side.
Right, flanking it. And that's where the artist rendition comes in, because you'll see the idea is to surround it as closely as possible with greenery, not fruity flowers, but conifers and crab apples.
Brent, to approve, if 6 feet is the maximum for a fence in this location, what's the approval process?
It's, again, when, I previously talked at noontime about, as we get things off of our working session agenda, we can tackle some other projects, but things like this always come up. Something, that occasionally has been brought up by me, again, didn't push hard enough, there wasn't the traction, is there really isn't a section of ordinance that speaks to gates as a standalone. So, it's, whereas the other one, was an entry gate as part of, a couple 100 feet of fence, this is more of a standalone entry feature. So it's not really a fence, unless you determine it to be a fence, then then you might be bound by the 6 feet. But if it's not a fence, what is it? Then it kind of becomes an accessory structure, which is, a max height of 15 feet. So that's kind of the two options I see. Is it a fence, or if it's not a fence, what is it? The only other thing within our ordinance is an accessory structure.
So we can't, this couldn't be the request for a conditional use permit or a special exception?
No, we don't have carve outs for the metal fencing, that was specifically in there as a conditional use. But obviously this isn't metal fencing, it's not fencing at all. But no, there is no special exception or conditional approval process. It's either if you call it a fence or if you call it something else.
Well, seeing as trying to keep some things in and other things out, I would assume we could call the fence.
But it opens. It has an opening, so it's.
It has a gate, yeah.
Yeah, it's a gate in it, but the gate is in a fence, just like we approved this fence on the other side of the property that included a gate. But that was 6 feet, no question. Look, I personally have no problem with it, but I think, and aesthetically, it's very nice.
Yeah, the only
But
other
I think we have to decide what it is, and I think it falls under the fence ordinance, which means we should do this as a conditional use or something, or
again, there is no conditional use
or
mechanism
exception.
Or exception. If we determine it's a fence and it's bound by 6 feet, then the only recourse would be Board of Appeals.
Okay.
Well,
Again, that's where the only other examples of, and again, I get there is a boundary there, so I can see, defining it as a fence. I can see that. But the only other situations where there's a standalone feature that is truly a gate, there are a handful of properties in Ephraim, and the gates predate, me being here. But there are a couple of properties that have driveway entrance gates.
Yeah.
How those were approved, I don't know, but they're certainly higher than, you
right.
couldn't have a fence at that height, within the road right away. So
Okay,
that's,
let's call it an accessory structure.
that's the only two options I see is fence or accessory structure, depending where you want to
Well,
go.
then it just seems like we're
Kind of making it
really
work.
bending things.
Making it work, yeah.
And some of those, I don't know, who knows how old, I know what you're referring to.
There's a
Some
couple
of
of
the
them.
gate driveways,
Yep.
they're tall.
Yeah,
They're also very open.
they are.
I'm trying to think of one that's solid. Usually the ones that's come to mind are metal.
No, I would agree with that.
I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, so I'll retract what I say immediately if it doesn't meet your approval. Is it a decorative feature of the garden? It's not on a road. It's not a drivable path. It's not off a drivable path. It's purely an internal decorative division within a garden. And I might go within the garden and erect a pergola, for instance, and grow flowers, clematis over it. Would I have to seek permission for a metal pergola of 8 foot or 9 foot? Certainly higher than 2 inches. But that is a decorative feature, I think.
Yeah, and that would be at its most from a permitting standpoint, an accessory structure, similar to if there wasn't a gate here, if it was a rounded arbor or something like that, that would be an accessory structure.
And if we go that route, it could be 15 feet high, right?
Now it's, I mean,
Sure.
That's maybe 15-foot high gates.
Yeah.
I can't afford it, so we won't be doing that.
The problem I have is it's a solid fence. And it's 7 feet tall.
Mhm.
And it is a fence because, by definition, and just with what you said, Colin, you got a sacred garden. So you're not necessarily interested in people looking in, but I understand the deer. That's a challenge. What if you did something that was open on top of it?
In the top foot, you mean, which would be
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
little window like that?
Something that was open, decorative, that hopefully the deer, they'll
That-
probably stumble and die in your yard then.
I don't see any issue with that. I mean, it's a 6-foot fence because it's anchored on 6-foot posts and it's hinged as a 6-foot
Right,
gate.
right.
And you could have 2 little cutouts perhaps.
Well,
the top of
even
that.
if you had the 6 and then do something with metal.
On top
Over the
of it.
top, so it's open. We're not approving
Oh, I
a
see, right.
7-foot tall solid fence.
So you do a 6-foot gate and then you put a decorative
suggestion.
rebar kind of arch or something.
A suggestion.
And so it would have to be, are you saying that it would have to be a different material? So it's not
I
part
don't
of
really
this?
want to say, but I'm hung up with a solid fence that's more than 6 feet high.
Uh-huh, okay.
And I hear what you're trying to, that'll help keep the deer out if it's 6 rather than
Yeah,
7 rather than 6. But if we could do something that it was open and then
Yeah.
it could just be a decorative top, we're not necessarily approving a solid fence.
I hear that. So a decorative top wouldn't bother you, even though we know that it's still a gate, which is 7 foot at the top. Can we thread the
Well,
needle that way?
But it's no longer solid.
At the
That's
top,
the
I would,
point.
I
Right,
would
just,
keep a 6-foot
right.
plain Jane fence, do something decorative over the top.
Right.
That's fine with me if
I'm
it,
just
if it
I'm just
helps.
suggesting that. Would that be acceptable to others? Okay.
That's a good solution. In that case, perhaps I could, maybe it's possible to have a motion and a vote on that, and then pursuant to a review with Brent perhaps, and I'll bring a design for that element. Because if there is a little creative space there, maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'll do
Right,
that.
right. Get out your torch.
Right,
Make something interesting.
right.
I'm serious.
I'm a little tired of doing.
It'd be a real feature. Well, so you're asking us to approve a 6-foot high fence gate with an ornamental design that goes up to 7 feet to be approved later.
Well, if it's an ornamental design, it sounds like there's room for more height than that.
Well, if I say 2, we're not talking 10 feet, are we?
Well, did you not say that an accessory structure or a pergola could potentially, I mean, I'm not going to go there, but it could go higher yet. For instance,
Yeah,
I could
accessory
do a
structures are
circle on the
15.
top.
Yeah.
Could be an open circle, and that could be, 9 feet. Sounds like if the fence can be approved as a 6-foot, there is some latitude for decorative, what you calls it, of, some height above that.
Just so long as it doesn't rise to the level of a fence.
Well, it's,
That's the
but it's not,
decoration.
is it?
It can't be solid, right?
It's not solid.
It's got to be open.
I mean, I'm just coming up with this thing, but in the secret garden, there's a robin that leads the kids to the secret garden. I can see doing a metal robin, a good metal worker can do something
Pretty.
decorative like that. And that would do the trick.
I would rather approve this at 7 feet than have the extra decorative 350-foot gate.
I don't think we're approving
It
that
can't be.
tonight.
It
It'd
can't
be
be.
approval of a 6-foot fence gate, 6-foot gate, double gate as drawn. And then you'd have to come back
Show us what you got.
for the approval of whatever decoration you want to put on top of it.
Okay, so can I ask, with the other application which you approved tonight, you approved the house application and said as long as you don't add to it, you can take away from it and it's still within the approval. If I was to take away from this, for instance, and cut out some of the 6-foot and then put a metal thing in its place,
Oh,
would
good.
that be okay?
That's clever.
I don't think we have any problem with the solid fence being lower than 6 feet.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, if
maybe
you
you
want to
could-
do some kind of circular thing in there.
Okay. All right. Well, that would be great if you could get that far.
Okay, who could do that
Well,
motion?
Can I ask? Yeah, I know. No, I don't want to do the motion yet. I agree. My question goes to what we approved with your see-through fence. And there, the fundamental difference is that's a see-through fence, not a solid fence, correct? And what's the dimensional height that's allowed for that? Was that an exception we made to allow you to go to 7 feet?
That was conditional use with no max.
14 feet, I think,
Oh,
there is a max,
sure.
but conditional,
Yeah.
entirely.
So that was
conditional.
conditional use,
Yeah.
yeah, because I see the 6 foot as within the ordinance and anything above 6 feet now, because it is no longer a solid fence, but is a see-through fence. So whatever we apply to a see-through fence can apply to this
Oh, I see.
But
extension.
that
of
wasn't
line.
see-through fence, that was a metal, or, chain link.
That's what made it the.
Right.
Oh, we made it a chain link.
Because,
Chain link.
oddly enough, you can have a 6-foot solid fence on a property line. You can only have a 42-inch high see-through.
See-through fence, so we're talking chain like that. See,
That
now
was-
I remember
that's
that.
what we are about.
I withdraw the previous
We'll
remark.
never get done.
We'll never
reviewing
forget.
These ordinances, at least in my lifetime.
Jeff.
I'll just pass it on to someone else.
Mhm.
Don't look at me.
I just went this way.
Monique, you got this in
Oh.
your motion?
No, I got distracted,
No,
sorry.
I don't know if
Okay.
you want to make a swing at this or not. Maybe.
So perhaps you don't even have to mention the decorative thing. I can just make a new motion for that, or a new
I think we could
application
just
for that.
approve a 6-foot
6
high
foot.
gate.
That would allow me to get on with it, which is
Right.
very important to me. And be
Right,
very
'cause-
helpful.
I got it, Andy. Okay. I move to approve the design review gate between units, oh no, perpendicular to Bella Vista Lane. Hold on, let me start over again. Okay, I move to approve the design review of a standalone gate of no more than 6 feet at 10367 Water Street. 10347 Water Street.
Can I have a second?
Claire?
Second.
Okay. So when you said 6 feet, it's 6 feet high and it's 7 feet wide, correct? 2 panels,
Correct.
3.5 feet
Yes.
each. Okay.
And there's those side panels, which are 6 feet, which should be buried.
We already approved those, all right?
Actually, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't.
That's a new element, but it's within the
Oh,
ordinances.
Wait a second, I'm getting confused now.
If you have a look on that sketch, I added these side panels to completely block the view. You see on the side?
I thought we hadn't approved that.
No,
before.
you approved a 6-foot wire fence, which is already installed. This just hides further, so you can't see through it
Okay.
in any way. That'll be invisible once.
Scroll back up again, so we can see the overall. So we didn't approve any of this yet?
You did, but wire, the chain link type fence, and it's already in.
Right, okay.
So this
So
would
we
just,
really have to approve this fence?
no, just a 4 foot on either side of the gate.
Yeah,
To
it's
tuck
4 feet on
behind
either
Oh, the
side.
rest of
plus
it-
the
Just a little planting.
That's all the paneling you're putting in?
Yes.
Okay.
You got that? Well, just restate it clearly. We still.
Okay.
The
I'm-
second.
Andre, still with us?
She probably could do this without me saying anything. I
I
probably make it
feel that
worse.
you're trying to put a motion to approve as is, except to a 6-foot max, and that's what
Okay.
it is.
I move to approve a 6-foot high, 7-foot wide gate and 2 cedar panels that are 6 feet high and 4 feet wide on either side of this gate at 10347 Water Street.
Beautiful. Second, please.
Second, I second it again.
Second again, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor,
Yes,
please say.
yes, yes.
What-
Oh, wait, there's somebody.
I am sorry, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, sorry, my name is Jeff Warner. I live not too far away from Collins Place. And I've kind of watched this fence and wall go up over time. And I know that the desire was to try to keep the deer out. And I may have the chronology wrong, so excuse me if I do, but I think it started with the wall that separated the property lines, which is 7-foot chain link fence. And then after that, there was some additional sides that were added subsequently. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the third edition of various fence and walls going around to completely enclose the garden and to keep the deer out. Do I have it right?
I believe so.
Okay.
That sounds like, that's the right chronology.
I might qualify by clarifying that this is really continuing the original proposal, which we just deferred action.
Correct, but
So
it's
not
been
like
basically
something new is coming to us.
right. But it's been 3 phases of
Yeah,
fence
okay.
and walls that have been added over time.
Sorry to interrupt, just to be clear, the walls are not deer protection. The walls are raised beds so the trees can be planted. And they're dry stack walls. So they were not, there's no required approval, and they were purely for planting purposes, not for a barrier of any sort.
Yeah, when I say wall, I'm referring to the 7-foot high chain link fence. It's essentially a wall to keep the deer out. And I'm sorry for using the wrong language. And so my question is, if I want to have erect a fence around my herb gardens and hostas, et cetera, that are in my yard, what's to stop me from doing that at this point? I mean, is there any?
Well, it was still, correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, but we still had to go through the conditional use process to approve this, because the chain link fence could not be this tall. Yeah. But we went through that process and approved the welded, I'll call it the welded wire fence, because it is less visible. And we thought more appropriate than a chain link fence. But no, there would be nothing to stop you from applying. It would still be a conditional use.
Right.
To keep the deer out of the garden.
But you've approved a 7-foot tall wire fence.
Yes.
For use of keeping deer out.
Yes.
Okay. So that's okay, to do.
Well, no.
It still went through a conditional use. So if another person, is that correct, Brent, came and wanted to do a 7-foot tall wire fence, we'd still have to.
Yeah, it would go through the same process.
So it wouldn't be an over the counter where you go in and get a permit from Brent.
Okay.
You'd still have to come before us.
And it was made very clear to me, we were not setting any precedent.
Yeah, I don't know if we put not precedential into that motion back then, but I know we discussed this, and at least we came to the conclusion you've just presented, that you're free to bring it to the committee.
Right.
That's what we do.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, Jeff?
It does. I guess it seems as though it started off as being one thing and became something else entirely, and it's just, for me, it's just the creep of the project that starts to become a little concerning.
I hear you.
Ken, may I speak on that?
Certainly.
Jeff, with respect, I don't think that's really quite the case. When I first brought my first application to the village for fencing was for 8-foot fencing all around. And that was the year before last, so 2024. And that got bumped to 2025. And when I came back, I managed to reduce that, having taken more expert advice reduced that to a combination of 7 foot and 6 foot. And after much discussion and very careful deliberation, much of that was approved. And so it was a two-step process which started at a higher request level, ended up lower, and today is just the gate element. That's the only thing I'm asking for today. So I didn't start as one thing and became something else. In fact, I didn't ask for fencing for the 4 years I was building it. I didn't really realize I need it until all the
Well, but what I mean by that is that it was a one side of your property was fenced, and now it's completely enclosed. And
that's true. That's because it's taken me a year to act on the approval. It's taken me a whole year to build the fence, but the approval all happened at one time, which was last April.
But I think that's the point is that I'm trying to make is that if you know that you're going to want to have an enclosed fence all the way around, why don't we just see it in the beginning instead of bit by bit by bit?
Oh, that was purely a matter of labor, time, money, and weather, because I got stuck in December. I had to call it off last December. Literally ran out of time. Everything froze.
I'm not referring to the schedule of the installation. It's the vision of what you want to create from the beginning.
The fence vision didn't really get formed till the end of 2024. And that's when I presented it to the board, and we've been discussing it pretty much continuously ever since. It was a long process because it was a big application and unusual, and it just took its time.
Yeah.
So I think that's really.
I think that the vision, I haven't. There's also something you wanted to do, which I think has been approved, having to do with putting in a cafe.
Oh, well, yes, there was one approved a long time ago now. That was for the Scrimshanders building at the front, and my plans for that disappeared during COVID. And that was a long time ago.
Isn't there something going into what used to be the garage?
Yes, there's now a simple commercial kitchen downstairs.
Is there a difference in the fence aspect between commercial and residential? Or is this like, because I think we started this a long time ago, but I remember it as one project, and I don't know that we need to rehash all this because I don't know if this is.
The only omission to, I mean, it wasn't even an omission. Like you said, it was clearly a carve out will attack the gate as a standalone item. That was the only piece missing from the complete enclosure of the garden in one single approval. It took a few meetings, but it was one single approval.
Right. It may look like it was a series, but that was partially just because of the construction. And you do have how many years to construct after we issue a permit?
2.
Okay. 2 years. So I think that might be partially what you're seeing, Jeff. We didn't do this in little chunks, but there was a lot of discussion before we got to approval. That's the difference.
Yeah. Okay.
I appreciate your input. Now,
you.
we have a motion pending and we have a second. And if there's no other discussion, I will ask all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Well, very much.
Thank you, Colin. And number 13, lucky 13, new business for next meeting, because we have absolutely nothing on our plate. So, and does anybody want to add anything? Oh, Andy, no.
No, please.
Then I'll take a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.